The west bank of the Nile is a honeycomb of burial sites and temples. We start the day venturing into some of the more notable tombs of wealthy nobles. No photos allowed, of course. The Habu temple was a surprise. Not as large as some, but equally impressive. In many places, the paint has held its color for thousands of years. He looked so friendly there, but a moment later he was pursuing us for more generous bashish. That's their word for tip. Just a quarter-mile away are the two colossi of Memnon. These prompted Shelley to write, "My name is Ozymandias. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair." Back in Luxor, we find shade and let the night come to us. The famous Winter Palace seems to glow under the light of the full moon. On our last day in Luxor, we start by finding a post office. Then we have lunch on the town square near the Luxor Temple, as two minarets start competing calls to prayer. This was our day for a felucca ride. We found a man who owned a boat, run by his family and driven by nothing but the wind. Sometimes we barely moved. Sometimes we moved like the wind. The young boy seemed to have little to do. But suddenly he scurried up the mast like a monkey. His crucial job was to tie off the main sail as we came to the dock. The master pulled off a perfect docking maneuver, skillfully balancing the current and the wind. We touched the dock with barely a bump. Then came the mandatory bashish, for a job well done by all.
You give us the 10 to you want to give us the 20.
Yes, very good. Thank you.
This is his idea.
You be sure to give him some.
Yes.
Oh, cross my heart. Yes.
That evening, our GAT van delivered us to the train station for the overnight trip to Cairo. Complete with meal service.
Thank you.
Do you like any drink with dinner? I have beer and Coca-Cola, Sprite, Fairouz, and
For money.
orange juice and water.
It's okay. I think water's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
At the Cairo station, there's a brief delay. Then it's back to the President Hotel, where we're surprised to find the Chinese embassy is just outside our window. Midday, Azmeh takes us to the Citadel, built by Saladin in 1176. The mosque was built about 50 years later and is equal in size and design to the famed Hagia Sophia in Istanbul. From this viewpoint on a clear day, you could see over half of Cairo's 15 million inhabitants. In the oldest part of Cairo, we briefly enter Holy Family, a functioning Coptic church. Even our tour guide didn't understand the chants I recorded. That afternoon, Cairo's famous Egyptian Museum, which contains the real Mask of King Tut.
Giza stands forever.
A dramatic end to the day, the Giza Light Show, presented in 9 languages.
No traveler, emperor, merchant, or poet has trodden on these sands and not gasped in awe. I saw the history of Egypt in its first glow, as tomorrow I shall see the east burning with a new flame.
455 feet high, he achieved the building of the highest monument then known to man.
Carved in rock near his tomb. These stones were hauled singly on earth mounds, banked higher and higher as the edifice grew.
Next morning, the van comes early for a 3-hour trip to Alexandria on the Mediterranean.
We call it the Palace of Al-Muntaza. The other palace, we call it the Palace of Al-Salamlik. It was converted to be a hotel. We call it the Hotel of Al-Salamlik.
We drive along the seaside, then spend an hour in Montaza Gardens.
the little catacombs, the little...
No, this one it's like a resort for the people they are coming here. They can pay to like rent a cabin.
Oh, those
Rent
cabins.
a cabin in order to change your clothes.
Then he has the blue on them. They're beautiful. But they're clumsy when they fly. Tail. Sometimes you'll see it land and flip over.
It's a perfect spring day, except for the occasional wave. The citadel of Qaitbay was built in 1480 on the site of the Pharos Lighthouse, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Azme and our driver Mohammed bought us lunch, a tasty local dish called kushari.
That we are going to visit right now is the catacomb of Qom al-Shu'afa.
Yes.
In the catacomb of Qom al-Shu'afa is forbidden to take your camera.
Okay.
You have to leave it in the car.
We spent an hour in those catacombs, and yes, they held my camera in the van, no
I could
pictures.
just have a great time in there. Citadel. I got the browns. I was eating the last. Yeah, I drank. Instead of drinking, I was eating.
Rome controlled Egypt for more than 600 years. This theater still provides locals with entertainment. This stunningly modern library, built in 2002, is located on the site of one of the lost wonders of antiquity, the Great Library of Alexandria. On the way home, we found the roadside rest was under construction, so we stopped at a tiny 2-man tent for strong tea all around. Halfway back, we waited, then followed an ambulance toward Cairo. With such wild Egyptian drivers, we were surprised that this was the only accident we saw during our trip. Back in Cairo, traffic was as packed as usual despite the late hour.
Just one.
One, two.
Okay.
Windows on the destination.
Crosswalks seem non-existent.
So this is my drawing.
After an hour on the road, we see a distant landmark. This is thought to be the first true pyramid, now only the core of a monument that was once the shape and nearly the size of the Great Pyramid at Giza. We made our way into the ancient burial chamber at the very base of the tomb. A haunting experience. In this remote location, armed guards were always with us. Guards accompanied us to Hawara. Egypt is trying very hard to prevent any attack on tourists, like the one that happened in 1997. There's not much left of this pyramid. And at a nearby rest stop, only the birds hold court. El Fayoum is a farming oasis fed by the Nile. Returning to Cairo, we pass a Fatimid Muslim cemetery. Soon we're back on the usual Cairo traffic jam. To pass the time, Marlia takes a lesson in scarf tying.
Twisting out.
Yeah, great.
To make our 4 a.m. flight back to Rome, we leave the hotel shortly after midnight. Traffic is still packed. One more all-nighter in an airport, but this time we're not alone. We got exit row seats, right next to a cute Italian flight attendant.
Andiamo a rimanere seduti con le cinture allacciate fino a quando lo posito il segnale del rispetto.
We're back in London by 11:30 in the morning, hit the tube, and go straight to the Churchill War Rooms not far from Big Ben.
The battle of Britain is about to begin. Upon this battle depends the survival of Christian civilization. Upon it depends our own British life and the long continuity of our institutions and our empire, made more sinister and perhaps more protracted by the lights of perverted science. Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duty, and so bear ourselves that if the British Empire and its commonwealths last for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was their finest hour.
By 6 p.m., we make it to one last free concert at St. Paul's, the Sabbat Mater. It's almost Easter. One last sundown near the Eye, where we have a Japanese dinner. And one last look at Big Ben. One last overnight at Heathrow, so we can catch that 8 a.m. flight back to Toronto. On the final leg back to Denver, we watch a skilled commercial artist, Lar de Souza, finish a weekend cartoon on his laptop. Past the old Jenny and DIA, then one last bus ride to our car. And we're back home again, with a world of memories to hold until the next trip.